I haven't filmed a TikTok yet today, and I'm out here at a playground, so I figured I might as well do it here. I am walking my dog Fenris around while my kids play in the playground over there. It feels a little weird because it's a school playground, and normally you're not supposed to go to school playgrounds, during school hours, but it's summer, of course, so the kids are still off. But there's no bathroom here, so I'm waiting for the kids to be like, "Mommy, we have to go potty," even though we go before we leave. Anyway, so I just took Fenris to the vet for a $160 Cytopoint shot, which is supposed to be, it like dulls the sensation of allergies. And it used to be quite effective, but it stopped working nearly as well about a year ago. But it's been the closest thing we found that's helped with anything. Oh my God, I can't talk today. He is almost 8 years old. He is the first dog that I ever had before we had Link. Before I was even pregnant, I told my husband, I was like, as soon as we get our own house, I really want a dog. I've never had a dog before. And so he's like, okay. So we got Fenris when he was, I think, 6 months old. He was a rescue. I would never buy an animal. And the reason I got a younger dog is because I really wanted to train him and everything. And once you get an older dog, they're set in their ways. And also a lot of the older dogs that don't get adopted have health problems and it's a lot of money. But anyway, so we adopted him. And like I said, he's almost 8 years old. And his entire life, he has had really bad allergy, like scratching at himself just like all the time. And we've gone to so many vets and we have tried so many diets, soy, like it's like made out of soy food, dog food, raw food, all that stuff, goat's milk, coconut oil, like just whatever it is you're about to suggest, we've already tried it. And like I said, this Cytopoint thing was sort of working for a little while, but it's kind of stopped. So I keep him in this little coat that I made, and it was really hot this weekend. It's been in the 90s most of the summer so far. It's weird because it's like overcast today, but it's still pretty muggy. It's like 88 or so, and it's supposed to be 91 again tomorrow, but whatever. And I took it off of him on one of the hottest days because we don't have AC, although we might have a split level installed really soon, which I'm really hopeful for because it is awful when it's like even over 85. Our house just retains heat. But anyway, so I took him, noisy cars, I took him out of this little jacket and I kept like an eye on him and to make sure he didn't start gouging himself, and he didn't. Like I couldn't see him doing it, but at some point, I went to the bathroom or something, I came out, he had bored bloody holes in himself. And so I'm like, I'm really sorry, buddy, I got to put this back on you. And so I put it back on him and I checked the spots. I put disinfectant and stuff like that on it. And I checked the spots today and they're back to just being bald. They're not bloody anymore, thank goodness. But it's just, first dog I ever had. And he's got all these problems. He also had really bad separation anxiety for a really long time. Like when he was a puppy, if we shut the door, like just in the bedroom, put him in one room and we shut the door on the other side of the door, he would scream and scratch and blah, blah, blah. When we had an apartment for a while, we had to pay to get the door replaced because he would scratch at it. Like literally just, yeah. But our second dog that we got a year ago, like she'll scratch occasionally. I'm recording a video, Link, okay? So don't be too noisy, please. I love you. You're turning officially 7 tomorrow. Whoop, dog, what are you? He's running into things. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. But our second dog, yeah, she's been fine. And his separation anxiety really calmed down a lot with getting the second dog, which I, hoped for but wasn't holding my breath. And Aiden is talking to another kid. Hopefully he's not being annoying. They brought toys with them and then immediately were like, we don't want to hold him. Can you hold him? But yeah, so, we spent all this money on the dogs. Obviously keeping up on the vaccines. We also have the 2 cats. He's going to try to run up to the crows. They're just going to run away, Link. He thinks he's a Disney princess. He's like, can I go pet the bird? I'm like, the bird is not going to let you pet it. And if it does, it's diseased. It's dying if it lets you pet it. I love crows. They're so smart. I read these stories about like the girl that would leave treats out in front of her house for the crows, and so they start bringing her stuff. They do have a very distinctive crow sound though. Anyway, So we spent all this money on the dogs. I also have a hognose snake that I made videos about before. He is an asshole. I've only ever had corn snakes before, and feeding them was no problem. But this freaking hognose snake, I have barely ever gotten it to eat. And I have spent, like, I bought him for $300. I know there's rescue snakes, but they're usually like pretty high maintenance, and I just don't think I'm experienced enough for that. But I got this hognose snake, spent $300, I think $350 on buying him, and then I spent $1,000 or $2 taking him to the vet, getting the special nutrition stuff. I used to take him to the vet to have them force feed him because it terrified me. I know, that's a horseshoe thing. We'll have to get some horseshoe things and come back. I was looking at that and I was like, oh, my mom and I used to play horseshoes. Anyway, and I like snakes and stuff like that, but I don't hold him very often because I keep hoping that I can get him to eat a mouse, and you don't want to hold him for a few days before feeding him a mouse because you don't want to stress him out. And then if they do eat, you don't want to hold them for a few days while they digest it. And so since you're supposed to feed him once a week, I'm just like in this constant cycle of either trying not to stress him out so he'll eat, or not holding him because he's digesting. But yeah, I've probably had to force feed him more times than he's eaten a mouse in the like year and a half, maybe 2 years that I've had him. And part of me wants to give him away, even though I spent so much money on him. But at the same time, two things with that. One, like, even though he's an asshole and I barely ever get to hold him, like, he's still a member of the family. Not in the same way that like a dog or a cat is, but you know, he's still part of my little household. And I'm of the firm belief that once you adopt an animal, like, it is a part of your family. You need to take care of it. At the same time, I think there's limits. Like, for a little while with Fenris, you're knocking me over, sweetie. I understand, but you're knocking me over. Okay, let go, please. Okay. I love you. Sheesh. It's like the grappling thing that you throw, not caltrops, whatever it is in D&D. Man, I would love to have time to play a D&D game, but these guys are just a lot. Anyway, and part of me worries that, you know, even if I give him to someone who says they're... Aiden, too far! Come on, dude. Like I said, children are a lot. Yeah, but anyway, I'd worry that if I gave him to someone that they wouldn't take care of him, and I can't really just be like, well, it's not my problem anymore. We have only ever rehomed an animal once, and it was a dog that we had only had for a couple of months. We got her name was Luna, when Fenris was still like a couple years old. Kind of hoping that the dog would help chill his separation anxiety, as happened with Gaia. Didn't happen with this dog. She was older. We knew she had some medical problems when we adopted her, but we're like, well, you know, we'll take her to the vet and everything like that. Turned out she had a lot of problems. She would walk constantly in circles and stuff like that. But the reason that we rehomed her is that I got pregnant. I don't know if he's playing or if he's being annoying. I don't know. Running around the trees. This is the closest. Yes, go play. This is the closest we've come to having like time in nature. You have to go really far to find like forests and stuff without cars in the sound, you know, in the background. But anyway, yeah. So point being that what I was saying is that don't annoy them, Link. Link just goes up to everyone and is like, hey, you want to see my cool Lego, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's cute, but at the same time, like, a lot of people just don't like kids. And it's like, Link, random people don't want to hear your life story. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Right. So a couple years ago, Fenris developed this like wart on his side, and I took him to vet to get it looked at, and they were like, well, it could be cancer. And I was like, well, fuck. And I paid a couple $100 for some tests, and they all came back negative, and they were like, well, we can do this like battery of tests for like $1,000 and then find out if he has cancer and go from there. And I was just like, no, because even if he has cancer, you know, he's a dog. He's like over middle-aged, and because big dogs don't live as long, and I don't want to spend the money and the pain and everything just trying to extend his life as much as possible. I have friends who have dogs who are like blind, covered in tumors, just really falling apart, and yet they'll give it drugs, they'll give it medication like 6 times a day. And it's like, I understand that dog is a part of your family, I understand you love that dog, but you gotta let go, man. If your dog is just riddled with tumors and all that stuff, like, just let it die. We're so, not let it die, but take it to be gently put down so that it's not in pain. But we're so afraid of death that we will cling to, like, we will force animals to stay alive even when they're in pain and everything like that, just because we're like, I'm not ready to let go. And the animal doesn't know what death is. The animal's not scared. You're scared, but the animal just wants the pain to stop. And I'm not saying it would be easy, like, I'm not as close to my dogs as I am my cats. I'm definitely a cat person. And I'm not saying, like, we've had animals, I'm like spitting all over the place. We've had cats that we decided to put down because, like, they were falling apart. They were peeing constantly. They were not eating. We had to give them meds and stuff like that. And every time I was heartbroken. Like, I had this really sweet orange one named Marmalade who had skin over one eye, and we had ended up with him years ago when we were cat sitting for someone who just disappeared. And so for years when I had him, I'd already gotten attached. I was like worried she would like show up and demand her cat back. And even though at that point, after like years, I think we would be in the right to be like, no, he's our cat now. Because again, she was only supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, and then she just disappeared. So in my humble opinion, if you ask someone to watch your animal for a week and then you disappear for 2 years, yeah, it's their cat now. But yeah, like, he got to the point where he was just, his quality of life sucked. And so we regretfully put him down. And I still I still dream about him and miss him and stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's easy, but anyway, so those are some thoughts. It's really hard to say goodbye to our furry animals, or scaly, or whatever kind of animal you're attached to, but we cannot let our fear of death cause us to try to squeeze every last moment of life out of them. If their life sucks, you got to do the humane thing and let them go. You gotta not be so selfish that you're forcing them to be alive when they're miserable, and you gotta let them go.